think we have a few questions from the press. John Pienaar.
Prime Minister, you say that Britain, after Brexit, should be a fairer place. And today you say there should be more academically elite state grammar schools, which means more talent drawn away from non-selective schools, and it means the losers who do not get into these schools are denied those opportunities with the greater sense of unfairness and injustice that causes. Are those fair points, or is it ideology and dogma?
There's nothing about ideology and dogma here, John, and I'll make the point to you that it's not fair today when some children are able to get into a good school purely because their parents are able to buy the house that sits next to that school. So there are too many children in our society today who are not getting access to a good school education. What I've talked about today is not the sort of binary system that you've just referred to. It is about a truly diverse school system, which is focused on providing the education that is right for every child and enabling every child to have the opportunity to get on. And I think that's so important, because I think that if people lose opportunity, they lose hope. Chris.
Thank you very much. Chris Shipp from ITV News. Prime Minister, would you permit me to quote back to you some of the words that you spoke on the streets of Downing Street earlier in the summer? It is my mission, you said, to help those who can just about manage, but you worry about getting your kids into a good school. I suppose you can now add to that, you worry about your kids passing an exam at age 11, because if they don't, they'll end up in a less good school. I think the point I'm getting at here is no matter what quotas you put in, no matter how many feeder schools you tell grammar schools to help, you'll still end up with good schools who cream off the brightest pupils and less good schools, whatever way you look at this. And how does that fit in with your great meritocracy?
As I've said, this is not about... You're describing a sort of binary system, and I have to say that one of the mistakes I think you're making is an assumption that even in that sort of binary system, you had good schools that took pupils of a certain ability, and by definition, other schools weren't good. There are schools in our country who are not good. What we want to do is ensure that all schools in the country are providing a good quality of education for children. I want to increase the capacity of our system so that it does have more good school places. That's what this is about. It is not about returning to a binary system of the past. It is about increasing the diversity of the school system that we have. And that is about building on the reforms which we've already introduced, which will continue, which are about improving the quality of all schools in the country. I want every child to have those opportunities to go as far as their talents will take them. Rowena.
Rowena Mason from The Guardian. Prime Minister, in your ideal system, what proportion of schools in the country would be selective grammars? And where is your evidence from academics or experts that this system would actually help every child and not just the very brightest?
Well, first of all, I'm not setting a quota for a number of schools that are suddenly going to become grammar schools. This is about local circumstances. It's about what parents want locally. It's about there will be institutions that will come forward. There may be groups of parents who want to set up a new free school as a selective school. This is about opening the system up to a greater diversity. It's also about building on the reforms we've already started, which have been showing success in improving the quality of education and will continue to do so. I repeat that what we want to see is a system where there is a diversity of provision, where there are different types of schools, where actually for every child we're able to say that they are able to get the education that is right for them, because that is what will enable them to see their talents developed and give them the opportunity to go where their talents will take them. Lynn?
Lynn Davidson from The Sun. Your plans this morning have been described as regressive, threatening 20 years of progress in education by Sir Michael Wilshaw of Ofsted. My question's on selection. What about the poor and disadvantaged and the ordinary working class people or children who are not academically gifted at 11, 14 or 16?
Well, they will get a good quality. What I've just said, I'm sorry if it sounds as if I'm repeating myself, but the message is a very simple one. I want to increase the capacity of the system. I want to increase the number of good school places. This isn't just, as you heard what I was talking about, I set out 4 ways in which we are going to increase the capacity of the system and increase the number of good school places. One of those was about selection, but the other ways were about actually ensuring that throughout our education system, parts of our education system that have the ability to help to encourage schools to achieve those good levels of education are also willing to come forward, as some of them have been in the past, universities and independent schools, to work with schools in the state sector to ensure that they're providing that good quality of school, whatever the type of school it is, whether it's a mixed ability school or a selective school. And that's what we want to see. Increase the number of good school places and improve the quality of education across a diverse education system. I'll take one more question. Can I just say, I did say this was the last question, not the last 3 questions. And so I will answer your first question, which was the one about education, which is that over the last 6 years, under David Cameron's leadership as Prime Minister, we have seen huge advances in our education system. We have seen, as I said in my speech, 1.4 million more children in good or outstanding schools. But we need to build on that. And I believe that one of the ways we should be building on that is increasing the capacity of our system, working with those reforms, enhancing those reforms and building on them, and ensuring that we're increasing the capacity to provide good school places so that, as I've said, every child has the opportunity to have the education that's right for them and the opportunity to go as far as their talents will take them.